Hey, everybody, it's Chris Aiken from the Classic Metal Show and the Aftershocks podcast. And I know you want to see this next episode, but right before we do it, just want to remind you that if you have an Amazon device, whether it's a TV or a Fire Stick or Fire Cube or whatever it would be, a Fire Box if you're old school, make sure you add the CMSPN to it. Just look up CMS Podcast Network on your Amazon device. Add the channel, and you will get every episode of all 4 shows for free right there on your TV. Make us part of your TV viewing every single day and night, all right? It's the CMS Podcast Network, cmspn.com, and it is now on Amazon. So get it, all right? All right, here's the episode you came to see.
All right. Well, it's a pleasure to have you both on Shockwave Skull Sessions podcast. Another new wave of British heavy metal special. We got 2 legends of that era, and I do mean legends. We got
veterans,
legends. 2 of one of the originators. We got Tino Troy from, of course, Praying Mantis, founding guitarist. How you doing there, Tino?
I'm doing good. Well, it says, according to the pic, it says Tino rocks, but he doesn't anymore. We haven't for a while, but we're going to do it again soon.
Right on.
So once this COVID thing's out of the way.
And of course, we got Robb Weir from Tygers of PanTang, founding guitar player. How you doing, Rob?
My pic doesn't say Tino rocks.
Well, I guess I got to find me a pic now. All right. We all got picks. I don't know what this one says.
This is my
here.
this is my pick tin.
There you go,
the pick tin.
You've always got to go one better, haven't you?
I know. Because I am.
This is.
Oh.
And I do the roto sound too.
He's going to compete with his old drummer, Big Dick, right? I just remember reading that on the back of the Tygers album covers. Big Dick.
Big Dick.
On drums. All right. Well, I'm glad you guys know each other and you guys are friends. This is great. We were going to have Graham Oliver from Saxon join us, but he was unable to make it, so it'll just be the 2 of you on today. And we're going to go old school, talk about the early days, of course. As I mentioned, both Praying Mantis and Tygers of PanTang formed in the 70s prior to the new wave of British heavy metal. So we'll kind of get into that scene. I know Praying Mantis, you guys have been around since like 73. You were really one of the founders, really pre-new wave of British heavy metal, playing the clubs alongside Maiden, who I think formed a year later, and it was the London bands, Maiden, Praying Mantis, Angel Witch, and Samson, if I'm not mistaken.
The 4 London-based bands. Yeah, they're always like we were very much in competition with one another. Well, we're friends then.
So how was it? Because I know obviously the punk scene was real big and the clubs, and it was very difficult until Neil Kay came around, which obviously helped out Praying Mantis a lot. That was the first time I heard of the band from buying the Metal for Mothers record here in the States.
That was it. I mean, Neil was a launch pad for everything in those days, and we took these demos to him on advice of a mate of mine. We took the 3 demo tape, and he just played it to all the fans at the Heavy Metal Sound House, the bandwagon. And they loved it. We got the sign of approval and thumbs up, and that was it, And next minute, we knew we were in the Sounds heavy metal charts. They had different heavy metal charts all around the country, didn't they, Rob?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I didn't realize Mantis started in 73. You must be an awful lot older than me, and I'm very old.
I'm
No wonder you need a new knee. Christ.
They should put a zip in me. I'm Steve Austin, $6 million man. I am.
You're looking good, mate. I tell you, you're looking good for 97. You're looking brilliant.
It's not bad, is it? That wonder drug.
Right on. Well, you were.
The Tiger. I kind of started the Tigers in late '77, and we were sort of playing the clubs in '78. But I don't know about you, Tino, but I found at the start of it all, bands used to kind of stay in their own area. I mean, we kind of just like sort of played around the northeast, and very, very rarely ventured out, of Newcastle, Sunderland, Middlesbrough.
That's right. I mean, we are pretty much the same thing, apart from we had an original singer who actually lived up in Durham, and he got us a gig up in Durham University, which was a crack.
All right.
Was it brilliant? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we didn't actually start really touring until, not touring, but, sort of playing the odd gigs.
Yeah.
Around about 75, 76, something like that.
Okay.
I mean, we were sort of honing our art, as it were.
Yeah, well, yes.
I mean, we were very influenced by sort of Thin Lizzy and Wishbone Ash at the time, being the twin guitars, and then we got into the Wishbone Ash type vocals as well, the harmonies, the vocal harmonies. So they were very much... very, very much our stronghold there, as well as our music. We're influenced by those people. Thin Lizzy and Wishbone Ash.
Yeah,
plus a little bit of Spanish code.
Well, you definitely have more of a progressive sound.
I don't think I missed a Thin Lizzy concert at the City Hall, I saw their very first tour as a 4-piece when just after Eric Bell left. They played the Mayfair. Wow. They had Rosalie was out as a single, and Brian Robinson broke a string, and he had to just kind of walk behind his one guitar cab and one amp and restring his own guitar, while they kind of played it as a one guitar thing with Scott, and then when they came on for the encore, they played it again because as a twin guitar thing. Yeah, it was just classic. It really was. Yeah. But Tino, you'll have played Newcastle Mayfair. I mean, what an amazing gig it was.
The Mayfair is an amazing gig. I mean, Newcastle fans, it's a shame we don't get that up that way, more often, because they're
pretty good, aren't they?
They're brilliant, very responsive, and like very animated, the whole thing, you're going to rock with a Newcastle audience, a Geordie audience.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Well, and over the years. There's an awful lot of bands have recorded their live albums actually at the City Hall because the acoustics were revered to be so good.
Yeah,
there's a lot of bands. I mean, a lot of bands recorded there. I remember I was at the Blackfoot show at the Mayfair, which they actually recorded at the Mayfair because I think the front of the Blackfoot album there's a chorus of the Bladen Races.
Right.
which is a very famous Northeast Newcastle song. And Ricky Medlock ended up conducting it, as everybody was singing to him. I was stood up on the balcony with Brian Johnson.
Oh, great stuff.
Well, brilliant. All the Tigers were basically up in that area, Northern England, Newcastle area, huh? And that's where you guys pretty much gigged.
A little seaside town called Whitley Bay. We all originally came from there.
That's right. Yeah,
I love that band Geordie as well. That's
Geordie were a great band.
Brian Johnson was a singer there.
Yeah, a lot of people talk about the Mayfair. We had John Gallagher on, and of course he's from Newcastle, as well as the guys in Venom. A lot of the new wave of British heavy metal bands. You always read about Newcastle and Neat Records and all that was kind of based up there, and it was between. Was there kind of competition between that and the London bands at all?
I don't think so, because we're so far apart. As Rob said, it was like we weren't treading on each other's
territorial thing, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I mean, until we started touring, and then when we got to know everywhere around the country, it was brilliant just to see the different responses from the audiences. But like I sort of hark back to the Geordie audience were like most amazing.
Yeah, I think really it was. We ventured. I think the furthest we ventured was Sheffield, which is kind of like Def Leppard country.
That's right.
And I think we played a club in Sheffield, and I think Joe Elliott came down to see us.
Yeah, I got a good story of that one as well, Joe.
And then we kind of, the first sort of four bands really to sign record deals was Maiden, Def Leppard, Saxon, and ourselves. Were really the sort of the first four to sign major record deals, and we were all busy going out. I think Maiden went out with Kiss and Judas Priest. Right. We went out with the Scorpions and Def Leppard and Saxon. So yeah, I mean, Saxon, Def Leppard, I think went out. They went out and supported. They were opening for the Scorpions, I think, in Europe. So we all kind of started to cut our teeth that way, and of course, moving out of your area, touring nationwide, as it were, and then worldwide, and that's kind of how it started for us.
Mm. It's interesting but first I do want to hear that Def Leppard.
Yes, story. I want to hear it as well.
Oh yeah, it was. I can't remember what it was.
I'll raise you your story, and I'll top it with. Oh, go on. Sorry.
Okay, try it. You can try this one because Bob Angelo was in the band at the time. When I think it was either the Metal for the Mothers tour or it was the main Maiden tour that we did. But Joe, and a couple of the lads from Def Leppard came to see us. And he was in the dressing room at one point, and just before we were about to go on, Bob had peed in a flipping pint glass because it was so far to go to the toilets. And he's left it down. And Joe's come in and he's taken a slug from this glass of pee. And he goes, whose is that? He went, I was like, yeah, Bob will tell you the same story as well. So I'm not lying about that.
Right. That's great.
You had to have singing lessons after that.
Yeah. I lubed his voice.
It must have done something to his throat.
Yeah.
So 1980 was a big year, obviously, here in, growing up in California. And I was, maybe 15 or 16 at the time in 80. And we had, I picked up the the first albums that came out then, of course, was the Def Leppard here in the States. Def Leppard, Saxon's Wheels of Steel, the first Maiden record, Tygers of PanTang, Wildcat. That band Marseille had a record in the States.
Marseille,
remember that? They were all the other stuff like Angel Witch and all those other bands, Praying Mantis, they were all on import. So I was aware of Praying Mantis through the Metal for Mothers, which came out, the compilation record, which had obviously Iron Maiden, turned me out to Angel Witch and Praying Mantis and Samson and all those bands. So that was kind of my introduction. But why was it that Praying Mantis, that album? I believe it came on Arista, right? Time Tells No Lies.
Yes.
Was that through Arista? That never had an American release, huh?
No, it's really weird because it was like an American who actually signed us from Arista, and it's just like weird. And they wanted to do this song, at that time it was when Van Halen released "You Really Got Me," and they wanted us to do a similar thing with "All Day and All of the Night" by the Kinks, and we did that. And we put our own flavor to that song, but it never actually got released as a single. So. That was a bit of a weird one.
Yeah, I always thought that was really weird.
Yeah, we were at we really fell into the new wave British heavy metal thing because Praying Mantis was never really sort of that sort of rocky. We just happened to be in the right place at the right time, and some of my material happened to work with it, but it wasn't. We weren't as like. Honed at the real rock thing as some of the other bands like Tygers were, and so ours was a little bit more sort of melodic and leaning towards those harmony vocal things, and a bit more progressive, if you like, as opposed to.
Well, you definitely had a more progressive melodic sound, which kind of amazed me. I thought that would have really done well in America at the time, because at the time,
you would have thought
America
so.
was all about.
That's why I was surprised that they really
radio. Melodic sound.
But everything seemed to happen so quickly in those days, didn't it, Rob? From one moment we like a sort of 1980 was there, and then
difficulties here,
and then it was like 1982 we were at Reading Festival again, and it was like everything was like happening day after day, and it was and we're really releasing
Absolutely.
a single here. We're doing a tour. We're doing another tour, and it's just like, how that? I mean, we now we try to organize anything like that. It's just like it takes forever.
Well,
we
in
managed to
81, of
squeeze-
course, 81
squeeze so
we
much.
released. Yeah, I'm saying 81 we released Spellbound with John Sykes and John Deverell.
Yeah,
That came out. I think that came out in the February, I think. And we hadn't even really toured it that year. And the record company wanted a third album, which of course was Crazy Nights, which I think suffered really. Because we had to write it on the fly. You know, it's. We didn't think we'd be releasing 2 albums in 1 year, for God's sake.
Yeah, as I said, they were both released in 1981, right? Crazy Nights and Spellbound. Yeah.
That's so wow.
That came out on November the 5th on Bonfire Night.
Right. Wow. Yeah. But that was kind of the norm back, at least in the 70s. And I know, a lot of bands in the new wave of British heavy metal, but I know Saxon released both Strong Arm of the Law and Wheels of Steel in 1980, the same year. So there were a lot of bands that were kind of pressured by the labels to still put out 2 albums a year. It's
probably good if you can like those initial albums, because I mean you've got like a glass of songs probably that you can actually use on 2 albums. But when you're having to, like as Rob says, write on the fly, you know, someone demands a 3rd album immediately after that. Like you go, hang on, we're touring. Whenever we got time to write the songs, you know, and it's so as you say, it can suffer like that way because you're just like
that was exactly it. We found ourselves in we found ourselves in Trident Studios, just up the road from the Marquee, in the West End of London. Where quite hallowed studios where Queen had recorded with Royce and Thomas Baker and one thing and another. And we're recording 8 songs, and they're saying, well, 8's not enough. You know, you need more. So, John and I took ourselves off to a separate room and came up with another couple of songs each.
A production line.
On the moment, as it were, and because they wanted to use 2 songs for a 12-inch single, which was sort of quite fancy at the time. But we didn't even record that with our producer. He went back to the States to finish off a Stanley Clarke album. We kind of had like a few days break, so we went up to Rock City Studios at Shepperton, where they just sort of finished filming Star Wars, and we recorded these 2 tracks, Stormlands and Slipaway, with a 17-year-old female apprentice studio engineer who actually called Jules, who actually did a better job than the producer.
I've got that 12-inch actually. Yeah, I always thought that production will suffer. That was Dennis McKay, right? That produced the Crazy Nights.
Stop it, Tino. You see, you've got him with 12-inch. You see,
we mentioned the 17-year-old girl in the studio. He got his 12-inch. Oh, wow! Come on,
Bob. Oh, you too. I was saying that was Dennis McKay, right? He was kind of known as more of a jazz producer. I know he did Judas Priest Stained Class, but it was such a clean, polished sound compared to the Chris Tangarides productions on the Spellbound.
It wasn't the band's doing at all. It was. I think it was a record company thing. They decided that they wanted us to be, I don't know, more Americanized or whatever. And Dennis was going to bring that to the table, but it just didn't work. It didn't work on a lot of levels. It didn't work because he had to go back to the States. Maybe he was just tired, or he had too much workload on and taking on 2 projects at exactly the same time. It just didn't work. The album didn't have any backing vocals. The sounds. The engineered sounds for me weren't what we wanted at all.
I agree.
And he was a lovely fella. I got on with him great. But what was I remember when we got the album, and we all gathered at Brian's house, and I remember us all sat in a line on the settee, and he put the needle in the groove, as it were. And with this huge expectancy of, you know, well, maybe we'll have pulled it out of the bag. And it was just, oh, dear me, you didn't want to be in that room. We all looked at each other, and it was just dejection. Honestly, it was, the guitar sounded like wasps. And, you know, the drums sounded like Brian had been playing his dad's suitcases in the loft. It was just...
Yeah. I thought the same. I was really disappointed with that production. I thought the sounds were, you know, could have been strong with real heavy guitars and drums, but it just was, it sounded like it was produced as a jazz record or something, you know, just real light.
Given the circumstances, the songs turned out, you know, the songwriting turned out absolutely sensational, really, given what you know, the time we had. And a few years ago, we went back in and re-recorded 6 of the songs, 5.5 of the songs, and brought it out as an EP to try and as we have done with the first 3 albums, and I think we're going to finish off the series, because we're going to go and do the Cage sessions next year, I hope. And bring that out as an EP as well, and then there'll be 4 EPs of the first 4 albums, as it were. Yeah, we did get a chance to kind of, you know, save it a little bit, but it's one of those things. You just, you know, you pick yourself up and you move on to the next one.
Yeah, I mean, stuff I'd like to re-record again. You know, sort of like picking out some of the old goodies and re-record them in this day and age and see what they're going to sound like. But sometimes you think,
you should do.
Yeah, absolutely. Good old experiment. And I've still got master tape. I've still got some of not going back that far, but when we went to Japan from the 90s onwards, I've got a few master tapes of some of the albums there, Cry for the New World, To the Power of 10, just thinking about remastering those, maybe re-recording a couple of bits and pieces with a new vocalist and that, and seeing where we go from there.
Well, you guys got the rights back to all your old recordings, right? Through MCA and through Arista. I mean, I assume the rights reverted back to you, where you could re-record and release those songs again. Right? Yeah. You definitely should.
I mean, there's so many songs there that have not seen the light of day as well. I mean, we did this album called Demorabilia, which was like a load of old demos and I was slung on an album. So it'd be nice to sort of maybe get them to a better state and re-record them properly.
Definitely do it.
Yeah.
I've
got to have something as a pension, man.
Well, you know, going back to the old club days, I know Tino, you mentioned how the band, you know, started out, you know, very much into Wishbone Ash and Thin Lizzy, and the band was very much more of a progressive sound, and those bands were so huge in the 70s. You know, given Yes, Genesis, ELP, you know, that was like the big thing. I mean, a lot of people forget how huge, you know, Rush, how huge those bands were, and that was kind of the sound. And then the punk movement came in, and a lot of people say, absolutely, a lot of people were saying how you know, the punk influenced the new wave of British heavy metal, but you know, more and more people are saying it was the progressive. But I mean, even Iron Maiden, you know, of course, Diano will say he was influenced by punk, but Harris would never admit it.
He was the only one who's actually admitted it, to tell the truth. Paul Diano. I mean, he didn't dress like a punk as well when he came on stage, didn't he?
Of course, yeah. But Steve Harris hated it. Yeah. Steve was all about the prog music, and so were a lot of the bands. I mean, you listen to Angel Witch, a lot of the stuff was very kind of almost proggy at the time. The first Saxon album was very prog, you know.
Right.
So what was the influence? How was it like playing the clubs? Did you have to kind of get because I assume you were playing alongside a lot of the punk bands at the time. And especially you, Rob, with Tygers. I mean, that first album, Wildcat, was so raw and heavy, and the production of that album just blew me away for 1980. The drums were just so in your face. You know, when you first heard Euthanasia, and then the guitars. Your guitar tone on Slave to Freedom and Killers, it's like, man, that's, you know, that was pretty amazing. Talk a little bit about the clubs and the difference between because I know, like, you know, the prog and the you know, prog rock, you know, 70s rock and punk were like arch enemies. So how did you guys fit into this new genre, the new wave of British heavy metal, you know, coming in from the clubs and working your way up?
The punk thing, when we started playing the club, sort of 78, the punk thing was still there, of course, but it wasn't quite as in your face. we played. I don't know about you, Tino. Did you have working men's clubs down there?
Well, we had working men's clubs. So yeah, we played quite a few. But I mean, yeah, I mean, there wasn't a big punk influence at the time we were starting to do our work, you know, on the road. So it's and it definitely didn't actually. It wasn't that they were treading on our toes or we were treading on their toes. We were branching out with our sort of music, and that was and it seemed we seemed to be gathering an audience of our own. And I can't say, you know, sort of Mantis were influenced by punk in any way, to tell the truth. But I loved a lot of the old punk bands. You know, it was like very aggressive and very attitude, you know, with it. And some of it, you know, I loved Steve's playing in the Sex Pistols. You know, it was like brilliant. So it's just.
Well,
you know.
the biggest punk band in the world, the Sex Pistols, were actually heavy metal. If you listen to them, they're a heavy metal band. Steve Jones, Les Paul, Marshall, Cranked Up. If you listen to it, it's a heavy metal band with a punk singer. You know, that's what they were, and we played anywhere we could, really, but predominantly worker men's clubs. And of course, you were very much in competition with the bingo, because bingo was. Bingo was not to be messed with in those days, you know. You had to shut the duck up, and you know that the bingo was king. So you did your 45-minute spot. Then there was, you know, 40 minutes of bingo or 35 minutes of bingo, where there had to be absolute silence while the caller was calling his two little ducks and his, you know, whatever it was. And then you got your second spot, and of course, really, all the girls, all the lasses, that's the Newcastle expression for girls, you know, wouldn't do anything. They wouldn't dance in the first half, but in the second half, that's when they wanted to have a bit of a shuffle. So they used to put their handbag down in front of them, and they all used to dance around their handbags. So, along with playing our original material, we had to put the odd cover in as well. The trouble with the Tigers was we didn't play the accepted All Right Now or whatever was quite danceable. You know, we would play Bastille Day by Rush, or we would play Motorhead by Motorhead. Which was a little bit more challenging for the girls to try and find the rhythm to dance around their handbags.
So that was pretty popular in England as well, to do a lot of the cover bands, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we did the same thing. We did the same thing. You know, it was just like, and every time we introduced the new Mantis song into the fold, you know, like, let's try this one out at this gig. But yeah, I mean, most of it was like sort of 50-50, you know, sort of covers and new material, you know, original material.
Well, Rob, talk about when you got the John Sykes in the band. Obviously, I guess you were having some. You got John Sykes in just prior to getting John Deverell in, right? Because there was a time where John Sykes was actually doing shows with Jess Cox, correct? You were playing as a 5-piece with Jess.
Yeah, we did. We recorded the Wildcat album. We did all the touring in '80 with just me. But we were touring with bands that had two guitar players, so it was decided that that was the way forward for a bigger sound live. Obviously, a 4-piece, if there's just one guitar player, Tina will know, when you're playing a guitar solo, there's nothing behind you apart from bass guitar. Yeah. Whereas if you have a rhythm guitar, it fills the sound out no end, and you know, gives the audience a better a better oral time, shall we say? And I'm spelling that with an A, not an O.
Yeah. It's great. Sometimes though, it can work the other way. You know, you can actually sort of have a lot more freedom as a single guitarist, because you can play different stuff. Whereas if you play one chord where the bass plays a note against it, if the guitarist plays a different chord, then it becomes like a cacophony. But just those two instruments, the bass and guitar, you can actually get away with murderous sometimes.
Yeah, it was. You know, we toured with Saxon, 2 guitar players. We toured with, you know, Leppard, 2 guitar players. We toured with the Scorpions with 2 guitar players. We toured with Maiden, which had 2 guitar players. So it was kind of, you know, figured that it would be better, you know. Yeah, for us. And of course, you know, you can play, obviously, guitar players. You can play harmony like you do, Tino. You know, with your setup as well. So we'd recorded Wildcat. We were just about to. We were playing Reading in 1980, and then a week after that, we're out. Pushing the Wildcat, our first album, and we advertised late summer for an additional guitar player. I think it was about 120 guys came to Tower Bridge Studios in London, auditioned them, and it was John Sykes and Steve Mann were the 2 that we were the big front runners. John got it. Steve, who I'm still friends with today and talk to today, lovely fella. He'd just come out of a band called Liar at that particular point, and they were both, tremendous guitar players. As I say, John got it. John, we did, I don't know, probably a few days rehearsal, really. I remember he came around to my parents' house, and we were running through the set, as it were, and all of a sudden, I don't know, he put his guitar down in his lovely broad Cockney accent. He said, "Here, Rob," he says, "are you a bit fact off with can I say that? Sorry, with learning all this stuff?" He says, "Do you want to do something new?" And I said, "Yeah, what you got?" So he said, "Well, I've got this." So he starts playing a bit of "Take It," which we eventually recorded on the Spellbound album. And I said, "Oh, I really like that." I says, "I've got this. What about this?" So I started playing like the a different part to it. So it was the one and only song, unfortunately, that we ever wrote together, and that was "Take It." So we came to the they'd organised one local show, and we were to play as the Wildcats, so we didn't give the game away, as it were, in this town hall in a place called Wallsend. And back in those days, we used smoke bombs instead of dry ice machines because we couldn't afford them. So our roadies, just before we came on, our roadies set off, these smoke bombs. I mean, the place held about 300, I suppose. And it was a proper stage, albeit it was small. And for the first 25 minutes, you couldn't see the band at all, and we couldn't see the audience. It was just, in fact, I thought somebody was going to call the fire brigade. There was that much smoke in the room. Nobody could see anything. All we could hear, and when we stopped playing in between songs, all we could hear was people coughing or choking. And it was literally, it was probably half the show before, and our two road crew came out onto the stage, and they were fanning the air with lids, I think, to try and get rid of the smoke. It was before Spinal Tap, but pure Spinal Tap.
It was a good influential moment for Spinal Tap.
Even at the end, when we'd finished, we'd done the encore and we were signing autographs, there was still bloody smoke hanging in the air. And I don't think anybody thought to open a bloody window. And John's first real gig was Reading, 1980, in front of 42,000 people.
Wow.
So, it was quite a baptism of fire. Indeed, that was the most people that we'd ever played to as well, but at least we'd been playing.
That was John Deverell singing? Was that still...
and Reading 1980, no, that was still Jess, and we did the Wildcat tour, which was sold out, which was fantastic. But that was all the lovely Mayfairs and Locarnos and all those sort of places, which were owned by a big firm called Mecca, who used to do Miss World.
Wow. They were great venues.
They were just amazing venues, and we played them up and down the length and breadth of the country. You know, East Coast, West Coast, you know, North and South. I think there was, I don't know, 28 shows, 30 shows, all in a row without a day off. You know, it was that sort of deal. 2,000 capacities. It was just amazing. And then it came to Christmas time, and we won't go into it. Things happened, and Jess left, and we put an advert in for a new singer. Again, it was nationwide sort of acceptance of it, and we auditioned up in Newcastle. And John Devil was literally head and shoulders above the rest, all 6 foot one of them. And yeah, absolutely. And we immediately started writing. Of course, Wildcat wasn't even cold, and we immediately started writing Spellbound because the record company said, "Okay, you've got these 2 new guys in, so this is the direction. This is where we're going. You know, we need new product," and that's what we did.
Now, why was it that the label? I know the label MCA here in the States are known as the Metal Cemetery of America, because they just never were able to promote a metal band. They're never able to break a metal band here. And Tygers was no exception. I always wondered why they never, I mean, all the bands came over, you know, of course, Maiden came over. They came over here opening up for, I saw them open up for UFO at Long Beach Arena in '81 on the Killers tour. Saxon came over. I saw Metallica open up for Saxon at a small club, the Whiskey. You know, they came over. A Girls' School came over. You know, all the bands were coming over, especially the bands that had American deals. Motorhead, of course, came over, opening up for Ozzy here. And we're all going, when's Tygers coming? And I don't think it was until like The Cage, you know, which was a few years later that you guys finally came, and you didn't support any major bands. I think you just did a couple club dates, and that was it. I mean, why wasn't MCA giving you guys tour support? I mean, I thought that really could have broke the band if you came out to America opening for Scorpions or something.
I asked myself that very same question. I mean,
I think it was
for the Cage, for the Cage, they changed producers.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the Cage, they changed producers. You know, to Peter Collins to try and give us a more American sound, because that's what they wanted. But you know, we didn't get across the water, and I have no idea why. We went the other way. We went to Japan, and we did 5 sellout, 5,000-seater shows in Japan. But I don't know. I really don't know, and it really did frustrate us.
Yeah, well, it really sounded like the label was trying to make you into the new Def Leppard. I mean, and that's what we're all going. It's like, Tygers. You know, when The Cage came out, it's like, you know, it's all more keyboards, and it's like, what happened to the rough sound? But you know, talk about Japan. Both Tygers and, of course, Praying Mantis had a huge following in Japan, and that's kind of where I know with you with Praying Mantis, Tino. You know, after the debut record, you spent a lot of time in Japan. I think you did like 3 or 4 records for Pony Canyon, if I'm not mistaken, right?
That's right. Well, that didn't happen till the 90s, actually, because I mean, Praying Mantis was split up by then.
So you just split up after your first record then, huh? Pretty much?
We did a second album, but it never saw the light of day. And some of those songs, actually, you'll hear on that album that I mentioned, Memorabilia, which were like the songs that never got released. Yeah, and that was the end of Mantis, and then Clive Burr did God Rest His Soul, then got fired from Maiden, and he decided to start his own thing with us, and we decided to form Stratus, and then we tried a couple of things, then totally in a different direction, more American, more commercial, the whole thing, and that didn't work. That fell by the wayside. And of course, we didn't do anything for ages and ages until I got a call from Dennis Stratton, ex-Iron Maiden guitar player, saying Paul Di'Anno was trying to get his band Battle Zone out in Japan. And the DJ out there, a guy called Masa Ito, he was the equivalent of the Tommy Vance.
Yeah, I know him.
England. Yeah. The big cheese out there as far as rock DJs go, guys, his own radio show, TV shows, the whole lot, you know. So he said to Paul, he said, well, what I'd like you to do is get these guys together, yourself, Dennis Stratton, and Praying Mantis, and come over to Japan. And that's how it got promoted. It's like Paul Di'Anno, Dennis Stratton, and Praying Mantis. And we did like half a Mantis set and half a Maiden set with a couple of Lionheart songs chucked in there as well. Anyway, it went great. And then Pony Canyon released it as a live album, Live at Last. And from there, we had started this relationship with Pony Canyon, as you say. And it was brilliant, like hitting the Japanese shores. I mean, they just seeing those fans out there, it's just like adoring, just giving you presents. Like everywhere you go, you'd like Tokyo, Osaka, Nagoya, they're just like, everyone had presents for you. And you like, come back home with them, and you had to buy another suitcase for all the prezzies you had, you know. It was great, fantastic. And all these companies, guitar companies, offering you free guitars and stuff like that, endorse our products, and you know, it's amazing. Yeah, they were really great years, and we had sort of like 15 good years in Japan, you know, and it worked really well for us. But then we lost the deal with Pony Canyon eventually because they decided to concentrate on their commercial acts as opposed to international acts. And the head of A&R there, who was a big Mantis fan anyway, he lost his job there as well. And he got like, they moved into a different department and Walt Disney videos and stuff like that. With a big company. And yeah, that was the end of that relationship, really. So it's very sad. That was a sad time again. But it's
great to see.
Our biggest mistake was back in the early days. I remember where we saw Maiden at the Rainbow in London, and Peter Mensch came to us because he was like, I didn't still sign the bands. He just signed Def Leppard then, and he said, he said to me, he says, I love Praying Mantis. He says, get yourselves a singer, and I'll sign you guys. And so we thought, nah, we don't need the singer. We were all too cocky, you know. We're riding that crest of the wave, and then we thought. Maybe a little while later, we said, let's go for it. And then we got a couple of singers in the band, and it didn't work out. And he wasn't interested in the guys we chose, and it didn't work out. And then we had this whole vivid scenario of singers coming and going with Praying Mantis became a joke. It's like the exploding drummers in Spinal Tap, you know. With us, it was the singers.
Did Paul Di'Anno actually do a record with Praying Mantis or any touring?
Yeah, well, the live at Last album.
Just the live, okay.
Recorded live the first time we went to Japan, yeah.
That must have been odd hearing his vocals with some of the Praying Mantis songs. I have to
it was very odd as well. Yeah, but it was a bit strange for us as well.
Right on. It's great to see both bands active. I know Tino, Praying Mantis, has a new record coming out. I believe your last album was in 2018. Talk about the new record that you got actually done in the can. Ready to come out.
Well, I mean, none of us have seen each other. We just did it like over the ether, basically. I recorded stuff here. Andy recorded stuff at home. Chris, my brother, recorded stuff at home. Hans recorded his drums at his studio with JP, who was the engineer and mixing engineer. He had a studio in Belgium called Art Sound Studios. Great place. And we did a lot of the last album there, Gravity. Did quite a few overdubs there. We put the drums down, but he actually went to Hans's house this time and took some of his equipment down, his microphones and some outboard stuff, and recorded the drums there at Hans's. Left the equipment there for a couple of days in case there was any repairs we had to do. And it came out brilliantly. And hard though. It was hard though, because even JC, you know, he went into a studio of his girlfriend's father's and recorded all the vocals there. But we're getting like stuff back, and we're going, it wasn't quite right, and trying to get him to do it again. He was getting cross because he had to do it again, but it would have been ideal. We were in the same room, hearing him doing that, you know, so he could sort of point him in the right direction. So that was a bit fraught, you know, in places, but we got there in the end, and we finally finished it a couple of months ago, and now they said they can't release it until February the 11th, 2022. So because they've got such a backlog of stuff as well, you know, to release. And
so they'll be coming out on Frontiers worldwide, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Right. And Rob, I was just gonna say, Rob, your The Ritual came out a couple years ago, doing really well. I hear it all over Spotify and a lot of the different digital networks here in the States. So it's getting some good promo there. What's going on with Tygers now? You going to be doing some tours, possibly in America? Once
knows?
Things kind of, I mean, I know now in England, I guess you guys are still locked down in England. You can't travel, right?
No, we can travel. We have our first shows for 18 months will be in October.
Okay.
We're playing Southampton and Bristol, and the night after. Although are you playing the Saturday night at Cornwall Rocks, Tino?
I think so. I can't remember which night it is. I've got it here.
Are you doing Friday or the Saturday?
I can't remember, mate. Let's just have a quick look. I might be able to find it here.
So because we'll be having a I'll be rubbing your knee for you and having a glass of wine with you.
Well, I had definitely, mate. Definitely rub the old wine on the knee.
we're coming on the Saturday.
First show last weekend. We did the New Day Festival down in Faversham in Kent.
Oh yeah, we did it a couple of years ago. Great.
The knees strapped up. Well, I didn't actually strap it up, but I mean, I wanted that because I mean, usually I'm crazy on stage. I run about all over the place, but for me, it was just like it was like Peter Crouch, a football player that we have over here, does the robotic dance. I don't know what day we're on. Let's have a quick look, see if I can find it. Facebook.
Well, you guys should tour together. I always think you guys should put up.
We've done a few shows together before, but so we
have a few. Put a big new wave of British heavy metal package. Now that all these bands have reformed, you know, you got Saxon, you know, Tygers, Prey and Mantis. I know Angel Witch has been doing some shows. Diamond Head, Raven. Get, you know, a group of 5 or 6 bands together. Do a big.
Yeah, a lot of people saying
that would be awesome.
A package.
It would just be
that would be good. With Ritual, we only actually got to play 3 shows, and before we got locked down.
Yeah, because that was like a mid to late 2019 it came out, right? Right before.
Yes, so we did 3 shows last year in March, and that was it.
Wow.
But we used the summer to write the new album, which is written. It's demoed, and we'll be recording that early next year. We've got an EP coming out. Like Tino says, it was supposed to come out in October, but it's been put back to January because there's a 6-month backlog at the pressing plants for records.
Wow. For vinyl.
I know, yeah, the vinyl. Yeah, our vinyl's going to come out.
Vinyl's back.
Oh, yeah.
I've just heard the first mix of on this EP. There are 2 brand new songs. Red Mist is one of them. And A New Heartbeat is the other one. And then we're doing 2 old songs, which we've given a bit of new life to, which actually is Killers and Fire Clown.
Oh, nice. Wow.
And they sound tremendous. I've only heard the first mix of Red Mist, which is a brand new song, which we've all written. And it's... you know, I came up with the original riff and kind of demo, sent it across to Francesco, who took it to another level. He really has. There's a bit of harmony guitar playing there, but there's a little bit of Praying Mantis in there just before the main guitar solo.
And then spraying mattress.
I think that's what I said, spraying mattress, yes. And then Francesco does this amazing guitar solo that's
now, he's the new I'm sorry, he's a brand new guitar player you got, right?
He's a brand new guitar player, yeah. We have a new bass player as well.
Wow.
Yeah, you got a whole new polished lineup.
Yeah, we have, absolutely, which we're about to unleash on the world. It's really hearing the song for the first time. It's been mixed by an Italian guy who lives in Copenhagen. He's originally from Sardinia.
One of those.
I tell you what, he has a real taste for it, and it's huge, absolutely huge. I'm so excited about it. So yeah, that will be unleashed really as soon as we can do it.
All right.
We're on the Friday, by the way, Rob. We're playing.
You're the Friday. Oh, right. We get there on the Saturday,
right.
And you'll be gone. Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah.
All right.
That's a shame.
Well, before we end this off, any other great stories? I mean, there's got to be a few other great stories you can share.
But we could be here till the early hours.
Give us one good one, each of you. Come on, Tito. Beside the Joe Elliott drinking the urine.
Right.
As Rob takes a sip of the wine.
I'll do another one from the other end.
Okay.
There was I think we were playing in Bath. There's a place called Bath in the west. Where is that? Where are we? Somerset, is it? Bath? Is it Somerset? Can't remember what county it was in. Anyway, and we had it was on the Maiden tour, and they used to have a lighting engineer, Dave Lights. Do you remember Dave Lights, Rob?
Yeah.
Anyway, there's Bob decided to. He got a few of these brown paper bags that you get from the greengrocers, where they sell the fruit and vegetables. And he got some apples, and he said to the guy, he says, "Give me a couple of those bags." And he goes, "Why?" And he goes, "Just took a couple of bags, and he decided to have a crap in one of the bags." and he's gone to. I didn't know this, but he said, "We've gone to Dave Lights' room because we're going to go out for a drink." And he said to Dave, Bob Angela says to Dave, he says, knocks on the door, and he says, I've got something for you, Dave. And he says, I've just been down the old greengrocers. You might like some of these. And he's slung in the bag. He goes, "Oh, thanks, mate." And he's like, he winds the bag up like that, so it's got two little ears, like a knot that they tie in it. And he goes, "Thanks, mate." And he's undone the ears, and he's looking at the bag. He's going, "Ah!" He's seen this jobby in the bottom of the bag, and he's thrown the bag out. Because we're at the doorway, and both of us have stepped aside out of the door. Each side of the doorway, this thing's gone splat on the corridor of the hotel.
That's great.
It's not that funny, but disgusting. Things we get up to.
Those little touring stories. That's great.
Go and top that, Rob.
Yeah, come on, Rob. Your turn.
Top that log, Rob.
Well, it actually involves praying mantis. Not that you'd know. So we were down. I don't know what we were doing down, fiddling about doing something as a band, and you were on at the marquee. So Rod McSween, our agent from ITB International Talent Booking, had put us on the guest list, and we were all having a pint in the ship, which is just up the road. I don't know whether the ship's still there. I hope it is. And we walked down from the ship and came to see you. And you had your, oh my God, and I so wanted that guitar. It was a white Explorer with 3 gold pickups.
All right.
Do you remember it?
It's back to the original now. It's not white anymore, but there it is.
Oh, look at that! You've actually got it.
I've still got it. Yeah, but I bought this off of I bought it off of Dave Murray on the first tour with Maiden, and then I decided I didn't want it in the wood anymore, so I decided to spray it white, and I did a whole custom job on it, and it was it was lovely. But that's still the original the brass scratch plate that I made.
You see, that just adds a little bit of authenticity to this story. You see, because I can even name the guitar.
So Dave Murray for £600, and in the original case as well. So
nice.
Restored it back to its original glory. Not original because it only had 2 pickups originally, but I put the 3rd pickup in, and that lives there now. So,
well, if it's not original, I mean, I don't mind giving you a couple £100 for it.
Don't even breathe on it, that one. I should go, listen.
So we'd been down to the marquee to see the boys. And then we'd gone to a club. And in this club was one of our record company execs. He was a label manager or marketing manager, I can't remember which. Lovely fella. We're all having drinks with him. And this fella comes over. He says, this is my friend Jed. He's a professional photographer. So okay, well, come and join us. So we're all having drinks anyway. It got to about 2:30, and Jed said, "Do you want to come back to my place, and have another drink?" So he said, "I don't live far." So he said, "Oh yeah, fine." So the 5 of us all trooped off behind him. And the guy from the record company said, "Oh, he said it's too late for me. I'm at work tomorrow. I've had me fill. I'm off." So we all went back. So we went back to this townhouse in like a mews. It was like a cobble street, really high end posh. So he opens his like the door downstairs, which kind of, if you're familiar with a townhouse, it's normally it's a garage at the bottom, and then a lounge, and then your living quarter, your bedroom on the top.
That's right.
So we go into where would be the garage, and it's this really fantastic photographic studio, with all the umbrellas and things, the silver umbrellas, and all that kind of stuff. So I thought, wow, look at this. This is pretty cool. So we're going up the stairs, like to the lounge, and he shouts up, "Pen," he says, "it's just me. Are you decent?" Which obviously was his girlfriend, and she said yes. And he said, "Oh, that's a shame." So we went upstairs and we sat down. There's this big oval glass table, and we're all kind of sat round it in like these lovely leather chairs. And he said, "Does anybody?" And I'll leave the rest to your imagination. And he came back. He went to the kitchen. He came back with this great big bag. So anyway, there was lines of this strange stuff that I didn't know what it was, and £5 notes being rolled up, and Penelope comes in and does this as well, and it was like one of those jaw-dropping moments. We're all young lads. You've got to get this. So she had thigh-length. Shiny leather boots on and a tiny little skirt, and and drop dead gorgeous. So and I looked at Jed, looking at us, looking at her. It was one of those, and he So anyway, he said, "Oh, I've been taking some photographs."
We're having some technical difficulty again.
I've been taking some photographs of Penn, earlier on today. Does anybody want to see them? Well, it was like 5 puppies just been offered 1 milk teat. He disappears out the door, up the stairs, you see, to his photographic studio, and there's 5 of us trying to jam through the door at the same time. It was sad. So
I can imagine.
we all go up and we go into his dark room, and there's all these obviously photographs all pegged up, because it was an old-fashioned, he was developing them. He's a proper photographer, not like the digital shit.
In the old dark room,
yeah. So he says, he says everything looks fine. He says, "Can somebody put the lights on?" So somebody clicked the light on, and there was numerous visions of Penelope that he'd taken earlier on in the day. So we all mulled over these. I think that's the wrong word, drooled, and then went downstairs and was served drinks and carrying drinking, and she comes and sits with us, right? So I thought it's not going to be long before somebody says something, probably inappropriate. And one of the lads said, "Oh, Jed's been just telling us that you're pet of the month for next month."
Penthouse, yeah.
For Penthouse, yes. So for people that don't know, Penthouse was a rather explicit, very colourful, glossy photographic magazine that Dino has. One of his bed legs is propped up on several issues.
I do.
And he said,
I
yeah,
love all that soft focus stuff.
Yeah, there was nothing soft focus about this. I can tell you what you had for a breakfast. So we've got the next month's Penthouse Pet of the Month, Centerfold, sat with us, serving us drinks. You just don't get much more surreal than that, really. And it all started off with a bloody praying mantis concert.
But did she have a staple for her stomach, or was it a tip?
It was a tummy button, but that's before it was fashionable.
Excellent. Well done.
Right on. Great.
And I'll polish that wine off.
Praying mantis that night, that would have happened for you, Rob.
Exactly.
It wouldn't. It seriously wouldn't. I'd have gone to the Golden Hole and had a dirty donor.
All right.
Penelope, I'll have to look at that one. What month was it? What year? What month? What edition? They came out as numbers, didn't they? They weren't in months, were they?
I think Penthouse was, yeah.
It was
probably
like
July of 1981 or something.
Gosh, was it 81 or 82?
I'm going to search it now. Hang in there.
It was the next month on to when you played.
Just look at the day when you played. There you go.
Yeah, well, we played it a few times in those days, the Marquee.
Yeah,
it was like a second home, that place.
Yeah,
you
every other
band. Yeah. It used to cost what, £2.50 to get in. Like £2.
And you used to stick to the rubber red floor.
Yeah, and every time they kept it, and then that's when they started bringing all the fire regulations in. And then originally you could get 1,200 people in the old Marquee.
And this is the original one, right?
It was just like sardines, and you could see the sweat was dripping off the ceiling. You know, you look up and it was just like a wall. It was cascading off the ceiling, all the condensation.
I think it was 80. We Maiden did 2 nights there, both sold out, and we opened up for them. And when the audience was like, when they were clearing people away and stuff like that, and kind of would sign in the last autographs and stuff like that. There was one bench at the back wall, as I remember, and on the bench was sat Rob Halford, Michael Schenker, and I can't remember somebody else. The 3 of them were sat there, and they'd obviously come down to see Maiden, and come down to see the Tygers, for God's sake. But yeah, they were sat there, and it was that kind of thing.
Maybe Rob came down to see you though. Rob Halford.
What's that?
Rob Halford.
I like that blondie.
He had blonde hair then, yes.
So, okay, well, we've got to do another one of these. I'm going to dig out some of the old stories as well.
Absolutely.
Once you
we'll have to do a part 2 with the 2 of you guys.
Once you start talking, it starts getting the old cogs turning, and you go, so there's stuff that you're talking about, Rob, and I didn't want to interrupt you because you're into the flow, but then the moment's gone, so you want to interrupt, but with something that I know what you're saying. Triggered that memory, and it's but yeah, we've got to do another.
Well, yeah, we'll definitely have
a refill.
All right, gentlemen, do you want to give out any information before we end? I know you guys are active on Facebook. Anything to tell the fans?
Well, just keep an eye on us. We're starting to work again now. The whole sort of COVID thing's not blown over, but it's getting there. It's getting a little bit more relaxed now, and we're doing a tour in the UK starting October. So hopefully see you at one of those shows. And the new album will be out. Catharsis, the album is called. It will be out on the 11th of February 2022. So
all right, Frontiers Records International. There you go.
Paris.
Right on. And Rob, Tygers, you guys are still working on the new record. You got a new band. You got some tours or some shows coming up. Our new band, a couple new guys in the band.
We've got an EP coming out. Good lad. We've got an EP coming out. Hopefully, as soon as we can get it out. We've got some shows in October, and then next year's a good year for us. We're out every month. I think there's 9 shows in January in Europe. We do UK in February. We do Italy in March, and then there's festivals and one thing and another. So yeah, and I always thoroughly enjoyed. Tina will tell you when our paths cross, because we do quite like each other.
All right. Well, gentlemen, it was an absolute pleasure. We'll definitely have to do a part 2.
That's the name of the new band. That's our pub rockers band, the Peppermint Peckers. I like that.
I love it. All right, gentlemen, we will definitely have it back on again. I will send you a link once it's posted. Thanks again, guys.
Thanks, Bob.
All right. Bye, Tino.
See you soon, Bob. Bye, Tino.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody. See you later.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.